Hi, I'm Carl Azus. This Tuesday on commercial-free CNN Student News, we're starting in the Middle Eastern nation of Syria. The ISIS terrorist group controls about a third of Iraq and Syria. It released a message over the weekend that it had murdered another American. Peter Kassig was a 26-year-old U.S. medical worker and former Army Ranger. He was helping victims of Syria's civil war when ISIS captured him in Syria more than a year ago. President Obama called Kassig's murder pure evil. He's repeatedly said the U.S. would not send combat ground troops to fight ISIS, but some U.S. military advisors have said that might be necessary, and in a worst-case scenario, the president may change his stance.
There are always circumstances in which the United States might need to deploy U.S. ground troops. If we discovered that ISIL had gotten possession of a nuclear weapon and we had to run an operation to get it out of their hands, then yes, you can anticipate that not only would Chairman Dempsey recommend me sending U.S. ground troops to get that weapon out of their hands, but I would order it.
4 months after a plane carrying 298 people crashed in Ukraine, wreckage is being removed from the crash site and an international investigation has started. Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 was traveling from Amsterdam, Netherlands to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It was over eastern Ukraine when it was shot down on July 17th. Everyone on board was killed. The U.S. and other Western nations blame rebels who favor Russia and are fighting Ukraine for independence. The rebels themselves and the nation of Russia say Ukrainian forces shot down the plane. Investigators hope to find out who's right. Kind of makes sense that you'd find cowboys and cowgirls in the American West. So that's where we're starting today in Prineville, Oregon. It's great to have you watching at Crook County High School. Now up north, it's the first time we've called on a school in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. At Hancock Central High School, the Bulldogs are in Hancock. And we'll wrap things up today in Bon Air, Georgia. We've got the Jaguars on the roll at Bon Air Middle School. After their games on Sunday, several NFL teams were visited by agents of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. Its mission is to enforce the nation's drug laws, and it's investigating the NFL because hundreds of former players say they were given pills without prescriptions.
The DEA agents targeted team medical staffs looking for illegal prescription drugs. The 49ers and Buccaneers were inspected, and the Super Bowl champion Seahawks were also reportedly visited by DEA agents. This is all part of an ongoing investigation into potential violations of the Controlled Substances Act. The searches were done without warrants, and no one is expected to be arrested. The reasoning for the inspection stemmed from a lawsuit filed in May by more than 1,000 retired NFL players who claim they were illegally given painkillers to keep them on the field.
In the 20th century, a number of federal election campaign laws were passed in the U.S. The intent to limit the ability of wealthy people or organizations to use money to influence an election. But 4 years ago, the Supreme Court ruled that political spending is a form of political speech, that it's protected by the First Amendment, and that the government cannot regulate it. There are still some rules. For instance, corporations cannot directly work with the campaigns themselves. In April, Democrats were accused of using Twitter to break that rule. They're not the only political party under the microscope.
So in 2010, the Supreme Court ruled that outside groups or corporations or unions could spend as much as they want on political speech to influence elections, so long as they did not coordinate directly with the campaigns or the campaign committees. Smart lawyers have been trying to find ways to send signals between the campaigns and these outside groups that are all spending money for the same goal, and that is to get someone elected. Outside groups, including American Crossroads and the American Action Network, collaborated with the National Republican Congressional Committee in order to share polling data. So because campaigns cannot coordinate officially with outside groups, what these groups did was set up public Twitter accounts that no one knows about in order to post polling data and polling numbers in a secret code that you could only read if you had the formula. And they would post this polling data on these Twitter accounts. One of these accounts was named after Bruno Gianelli, which is the name of a fictional character on the show West Wing. He argued in favor of using soft money to peddle issue campaigns.
Does the ad try to influence the outcome of the election? If so, you can't use soft money, period.
Well, zippity-doo-dah, Sam.
Here's an example tweet. It says, CA, NA 48/36-50/17-30/NA-10/28/14-21. What does that mean, right? We can guess possibly that California is the state, and the number at the end, 21, is the district, and then the polling in the middle is the top line numbers. After I got wind of this, I emailed a spokesperson for the NRCC and the other groups, and literally minutes after I sent the email, all of the accounts were deleted. We've exposed a couple of these Twitter accounts, but there's nothing stopping other campaigns or outside groups from doing this in the future, so long as these groups continue to hide their information in plain sight.
Time for the shout out. Including room and board, what's the average sticker price to attend an in-state public college? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it $7,000 a year, $9,000 a year, $12,000 or $19,000? You've got 3 seconds. Go. According to the College Board, tuition and room and board combine for just under $19,000 per year. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
Significantly more expensive if you attend an out-of-state or private school. But what's key here is sticker price. The College Board says most students won't pay that. They'll get grants, financial aid, and scholarships to help with the cost. Still, college is tens of thousands of dollars, and all this week we're looking at ways that students can keep those costs down.
19-year-old Alex Bowles is paid to attend college. And he's paid to be here, too.
My bigger thing in high school, I was really kind of worried about, even if I go to a 4-year college, am I going to be able to pay for it? I don't want to be in debt my entire life, you know, and I kind of heard about the program and I was like, free college.
Alex is one of 51 participants in Apprenticeship 2000, a program funded by North Carolina manufacturing companies that provides a technical education and a job to qualified students. Ameritech is one of the corporate partners looking to fill high-skilled manufacturing jobs.
I hear so much from executives. They can't find skilled labor. They look at a place like this, they can't get the people to fill those jobs. You found a solution in apprenticeships.
We have been very successful at it.
That's a real investment for you.
And a huge investment for a small company.
Support it by paying for their tuition at Central Piedmont Community College and providing them with a weekly paycheck.
The typical age of a manufacturing worker in this country is like 56 years old. I mean, if you are complaining about a lack of skilled labor, you have to be investing on the front end.
These are very rigorous programs. They require a high level of math, a high level of physics, but in addition to those theoretical topics, a lot of hands-on experience too, working with the machinery, working in the labs, working with their instructors to master the craft of these high-tech fields.
They've got a job on the other end.
Right. They have a job waiting for them when they finish an associate's degree in mechatronics after 4 years. They study part-time and they work part-time as well.
A 24-year-old coming through this program now had a couple of years on the floor. How much money are they making?
They're in the $50,000 to $60,000 a year range. They have full paid health insurance. They have a 401k program. They have vacation pay and no student debt.
Managing a job and an education leaves little room for the social aspect of a typical 4-year on-campus experience. But the financial benefits give the apprentices an advantage over their peers.
Most kids are going through school thinking, how am I going to borrow more money? You could buy a car.
Oh yeah. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm trying to actually save up for a house. So when I'm 21, I can move out and be on my own, which not a lot of 21-year-olds can say, oh yeah, I got this house. The more you look into it, you're like, oh man, this is so much more than just a ticket through college. This is like their life. This is a career you can build off of.
A lot of church services last about an hour with the sermon included. Not this one. A pastor in Florida was going for the Guinness World Record for longest speech ever. And after 53 hours and 18 minutes and around 45 combined sermons, he got it. 31-year-old Zach Zender was only allowed a 5-minute break every hour. And he didn't just take home a record. He raised money for a group that helps people overcome drug addictions. One thing no one needed to shout when he got the record: speech. He was never at a loss for words, gave everyone something to talk about, and left lesser speakers speechless even as he went sleepless. I'm Carl Azus, and I'll talk back at you tomorrow.